Life can be a tale told by a fool, but a tale told by a Buddha, by a Christ. If you're spiritually asleep, if you are unconscious, that's what's known as the fool. Life is a tale told by Santa Claus or by the Christ. Most people are following Santa Claus. Santa Claus means having more, getting that present, that person, that thing that's going to make all the difference that you always wanted to have. That present that never really happened. But you keep hoping against hope. This time, this is the one. This is the one thing that's going to make all the difference. And you always end up in the same place. But the mind never learns. It goes on repeating the same thing, running after it, sometimes improving it, but it doesn't learn. Christ means divine love. Very few beings ever come to that state of consciousness. Most get caught up in chasing Santa Claus. And there is a child wanting something. Christ is here, but Santa Claus is not here. So to come to this invitation, you got to stop wanting Santa Claus and really be done with the superficial toys that have will never fulfilled. Whether it is a Rolls Royce, or a motorcycle, or a big mansion, or a big job, or a big popularity, or a big anything. Yeah, a big whatever. You fill in the blank. Mine is the desire for more, to have more. And Christ means end of wanting more and coming home. And stop this wandering, searching for something that is not there. If you remain asleep, your life is accidental. You're at the mercy of the winds and the waves, like driftwood being tossed around by circumstances and whatever happens in the Maya. Being tossed around, no direction. At the mercy of the false happenings. And that's how it usually is in life. You go moving in the same unconscious ways, and sooner or later, you find yourself in La La Land, nowhere land. These three guys go hunting, and they come across some tracks. The first one says, I think it's deer tracks. The other one says, no, it's not deer track, this is bear tracks. And before the third one could say anything, they got run over by a train. Life is always trying to wake you up, and you don't pay any attention because you think you're in the right track, and you don't have the time to see that you are off track because you're listening to your desiring mind that only prescribes false substitutes for that one pointness that is needed to come home. And rather than waking up, you create more methods, more ways to remain asleep and rationalize the sleep. After all, maybe it's a nice dream. You may be dreaming that you are hot shit. And life comes and shakes you up. And you get lost in the drug mind. Mind is a drug. Keep your drug. The drug can be anything. Anything that keeps you out of focus from the beloved is a drug. The beloved is not something out there. It's what you are when you're not who you think you are. When you finally merge with the source, with the light beyond all lights. But the mind says, there, over there, then, go out, go there, look for it. You're almost getting it. And then you have some nice little experiences here and there. Yeah, they are luminous moments. But it's not to pay a visit to the beloved, it's to become the beloved, to stay in that state. Don't be a tourist. Be permanently grounded in that state. That's what Christmas is a celebration of divine love, not an excuse to have a big present that Santa Claus is going to bring you. There's some beautiful teachings in this Christmas thing. For instance, Mary gives birth to the Christ or to the baby, and she's virgin. Now, that's not very possible as far as the body goes. But if you really look into this, the virginity is within you. Not out there. It's within you. It's not biological. There is a state within you, in the deepest core of your being, that is pure and is virgin, cannot be corrupted, is beyond pollution, is beyond the reach of the world. No one can go there except your true self, your divine self, in deep meditation. It's not available to anybody who says they love you tremendously, your great love, your great friend, your great psychic. Not available to anything like that. It's available in deep meditation, where you come to meet the source from which you are dreaming to be separated from. The ego creates the illusion that you are an individual floating around doing its own thing. When you encounter who you really are, you encounter that which is everything. That's what can be said in this moment. There's only one being here. Many forms, one being, and then even the forms disappear. The purity of your being is untouchable. I say of your ego, I said of your being, because the ego can get inflated and say, oh, I am untouchable, I'm unpolluted. That virginity that is intact is beyond any thought, any belief, any concept that you may have about it or about anything. It remains pure. It's beyond the reach of the crowd. Any seeker, anyone that has evolved enough to listen to satsang in some level, has had moments where they were out of their I, out of the self, out of the me, and they experienced a moment of expansion. Looking at a sunset or a great symphony or an artistic work, but it's always you and that thing. And where there are two, there is separation and there is end. Or looking into the eyes of somebody and projecting, oh, I really feel you, and you're being, the mind starts interpreting, you are my soulmate, and You're my soap mate too, and you can go on forever. Two egos trying to become one, it doesn't work. Even if it seems to work, it's a lot of compromises, a lot of things, and there's going to be resentment and jealousy and possessiveness, and control issues. I had a little bit of happiness. I want to control it. I want to manage it. I don't want it to go. And the moment you do that, it's gone. Because it was false. It seems very real while you are projecting this thing. But the moment that it comes to an end, they say, what was that? Fantasy? Did it ever happen? How was I so stupid? Why was I deceived? It was a fantasy. It was a dream. The purity that happens by encountering the beloved directly in deep meditation is not fragile. It's solid. It's the solid rock in which you can build the temple of your life. All along you've been trying to build your life, your house on sand, and it keeps tumbling one time or the other. Haven't you noticed? You can be evicted at any time out of anywhere. What is that endures? Many times we get a glimpse of that beauty, and we want to possess it. We want to keep it. The moment you try to possess anything, it's possessing you. Sometimes you're at the beach and you see all the islands. It's very clear. You see all the islands right there. But when the clouds come, where does it go? And the clouds will come. But meditation doesn't give you a glimpse of that possibility. It takes you to that very space, to that private territory that has been given to you, which is you. That state that is you. You don't meditate on something so that you can feel better. Meditation really brings you back into what you really are. We use words like Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness. It's what you really are when you are not all these things that you have become. What's happened? How did you end up with so many masks, so many costumes? What happened? You fell asleep. Adam was not thrown out of the Garden of Eden. He fell asleep and he ejected himself. I heard recently an interesting version. I heard, how do you know that Adam was gay? Okay. He stood next to a naked woman and he got tempted by a fruit. What is your fruit? What is your temptation? What throws you out of the Garden of Eden? Because the Garden of Eden is not something in time. It's right here. What is that which you're always falling for? You probably have a bunch of fruits. But what is it? And what is that snake? It's called the mind. When you're in the mind, you're out of the Garden of Eden. You're disconnected from God. And I don't mean not using the intellect. I'm talking about mind telling you what to do. And the mind is always telling you what to do. There is this dictator in your head that is continuously ordering you around and you don't catch it. All these thoughts, all these things that you think is you, pay attention. Look at what drives you in life. Look what is driving you around. What throws you out of the state of perfection? What has happened? You fell asleep and are dreaming a dream of separation. It's a beautiful story about a Christ baby. Okay, I'll tell it to you. Not a story, it's the real thing. It is said that when the baby was born, there was this luminous star that appeared on the sky. And the star was pointing where the location of the baby was, that stable. And then there were these three kings who were fully realized spiritual masters, gurus. But in the world they call them kings. They were not kings of an outer kingdom. They were kings of their own beingness. And they were able to look into that sky and see that star that is so bright and so attractive and so alluring, and something within them say, wow, and I gotta go there. How do you know that? You know that star is not something that happened in the past. It's pretty much alive right now. But even though the universe has millions of stars, what is the difference with this star? It's not science fiction. What is it? It's a symbol of the Christ center, of the third eye. When it is opened by the spiritual master, you experience the star that guides all the way to the Christ. The light that takes all the way to the Christ. A light much brighter than anything you think, but it's nothing compared to any light that is worldly. So the third eye is open. They look into the sky. It's not the outer sky, it's the inner sky. Then it takes them all the way to that birth that every single being that wants to be liberated has to go to. So it's a birth into Christ. And to me, to be a spiritual disciple is to be pregnant with God and getting ready to give birth to that child in innocence. And the kings or gurus, they were Jesus' first gurus, traveled through this desert for thousands and thousands of miles. And finally arrive at that stable where in a very humble manger the baby comes to be, and is surrounded by innocence in the form of animals. They were not a bunch of crowd of people. It was all innocence. And there they bow down, pay the respect, bring their presents, gold for devotion and loyalty and endurance and commitment. Incense. When you enter into that state of Christ, everything gets purified. And myrrh, not myrrh, myrrh. to taste that ambrosia, that when it's tasted, finally what you have has any value. Before that, it was a bunch of zeros trying to make fortune out of nothing. So that's the story we must all go through. They went through that desert. There were many temptations. There were many oases calling them, hey, don't go there. You can stay here. Look, you can be very famous here. You can be popular. The Maya, the mirage, is tries alluring you. Hey, what are you doing? Why do you want to go to that little stable with that? Forget about that. Why don't you stay here? You can be a king. But they kept going and going and going. They were one-pointed. Nothing would stand in the way. How did you come here? What was that brought you here? You can have 1,000 explanations, and they seem very logistical. But there is something deeper than your explanation. In spite of you, in spite of any opinions, something within your own true heart to stir you up and say, I must go to that place. I must go and I must know and I must disappear of everything that I know. I'm done with playing the game of hide and seek with myself. And you will have to go through the desert that sometimes can seem very difficult, with a lot of challenges. But something stronger than the appearance drives you and sees through the Maya that the so-called problem is basically one. It's called ego. Ego creates the problem. The rest is just situations, appearances. Ego creates the fiction, reacts, tries to fix it, tries to improve it, runs away from it, hates it, worships it, does the whole number. There's only one problem. You, I, me, the true false self is there. And that false self is a wall between you and reality. And if you're not very alert, and if you don't have that guileless one-pointness to go to that light that is not separate from you, that is what you are, when you stop being what you're not. Then false realities will appear to this perfection that the beloved is. And we must also go through a lot of tests. But they are only tests when you believe them to be so. When the eye is believing it. If not, just another cloud passing through. So wherever you're dreaming yourself to be, or your problem to be, it's only another cloud. Give birth to the Christ. In the physical birth, a lot of preparation has to go through. In the spiritual birth, there is then also a period of purification, letting go what is false. But how beautiful when you know that to be the case. Be a Mary that consciousness that is made of love, fulfill your highest.